Hey guys, it's Andrew from One Plus Armor here, and today I'm going to do a quick overview of my Chaos Dwarf army. So, I just finished this army maybe, I guess a month ago now. I've had a couple games so far with it, not much, work's sort of been getting in the way. It's 2,500 points, although I can make cuts to sort of fit into 400 if I have to. So we'll just get right into it. So, you got a mix of sort of war machines and foot troops. My heroes, or I'll start from lords. So I got a sorcerer prophet. He's here at the end. He's got the Mask of the Furnace, which is a 4+ armor save, and it adds +1 to your armor save. He carries a Dispel Scroll, and he's a level 4 with the Lore of Hashut. He's pretty good. He's your basic level 4. He's also a fighty guy, and he's one of the few wizards in the game that can use armor, so I take advantage of that and try to give him a good armor save. After that, I have my BSB. He's right here at the end. He's an Infernal Castellan, so he's got Talisman of Endurance, the Enchanted Shield. He's my BSB, and also he has the Black Hammer of Hashut. So that's a magic weapon specific for the Chaos Dwarfs. It gives him +2 strength in close combat, and if he wounds a model with the flaming special rule, or the flammable special rule, it's killed outright. So it's pretty sweet. Next up, for heroes, I have a Demon Smith Sorcerer. He's a level 2 on the Lore of Magic. I give him the Lore of Metal. I give him the Chalice of Blood and Darkness. So this is another Chaos Dwarf specific item. It's pretty sweet to you. At any point, let me just read it, I got the book here. So, in any magic phase, the wearer may, if they wish, reduce the number of dice held in both sides' dice pool by d3 each. Roll these dice separately, declaring before rolling which one applies to which side. If a double 1 is rolled between the dice, then the bearer suffers a wound with no armor saves. If a double 6 is rolled, then the bearer may recover a wound previously lost in the game. Now the cool thing about this item is I can do it at any point in the magic phase, and it's not just my own. So in my enemy's magic phase, I can do it in my own magic phase, and this is every phase. It's a good way to sort of screw with people's dice, and even if you don't plan on using it that turn, the knowledge that you have it and are able to do it is a real psychological thing against your opponent, which is nice. So next up, we go into core. I have 28 Chaos Dwarf Infernal Guard. These guys just have a sword and board. They're all here. Run them in horde formation. The list I took recently to a tournament in Kingston, which I'll get into at the end of this. I fielded them with the Razor Standard, so it just gives them that little bit of extra punch against the armor. So they're already strength 4, so 2 off the armor save as opposed to 1 helps. The cool thing about it though is the BSB, he has stubborn as a base rule, so it gives this whole unit stubborn. And the general's leadership 10, so it's a leadership 10 stubborn block, which is really sweet. They tend to stick around. Chaos Dwarves have Black Shard armor, so it's specific for this army. It gives them a 4-up armor save like Chaos Armor, but it also gives them a 5-up ward save against flaming. So this unit's sort of really durable. It can take a lot of punishment. It doesn't have a lot of combat output just because they're only strength 4 attacks, but just having all that, they're more of an anvil, right? So that's the rule. Next up in core, I have these guys at the end. More Infernal Guard, 12 of them this time, with a musician and a standard. These guys have fire glaives. So, let's get a close up here. Fire glaives are a Chaos Dwarf specific weapon. Basically they're range 18 handguns, so strength 4 armor piercing shots. And in close combat they count as being wielded as halberds, so +1 to their strength. These guys are sort of just to help shoot away chaff. If the big block's sort of in a position where they're not going to hold out for too long. Maybe I'll throw these guys on the side as a flanker unit. Just try to get some more combat res for myself. But yeah, usually these are just like an objective holder if certain missions have it, or another banner in the army for blood and glory and stuff like that. So then we'll get into my specials. So my first one is the Infernal Demon War Engine. It's basically a train. Try to turn it, give you a side shot here. It's like a steam tank, not as good as a steam tank. Let me go over its stats. It's toughness 7, 8 wounds, 3 up armor save. It has impact hits, d6 plus 2. It causes terror, it's unbreakable. It does thunder stomp hits in close combat. It has a gun on the top, so how the gun works is you roll the artillery dice twice and pick the highest of the 2 rolls, and that's your shot. And the shots are strength 6, armor piercing, with the multiple wounds d3 special rule. So this really picks apart ogre units and trolls and stuff like that. Next up in my specials is the Magma Cannon. So this is basically just a flame cannon with a range of 24, so it's slightly better than the dwarf one. And it's strength 5, does multiple wounds d3, and the range is really where it counts. So it does have a range of 24 and then bounces like a cannonball. Next up is the Death Shrieker rocket launcher, so that's this here at the end. It fires like a stone thrower, and it has 2 ways of shooting. So it can fire it can fire a point, and it only ever hits a single model, and that takes a strength 9, multiple wounds d6 hit. Or it can fire a shot that sort of zeroes in. So you pick a point on an enemy unit. Then you roll your scatter. If it lands on target, you use the large blast template, and I think it does a strength 3 hit. Let me just take a quick look here. I can't find it. Alright, so it does a strength 3 hit, and it has the Infernal Incendiary special rule. So what this does is if it lands on target, it uses the small blast template. And if you scatter off of the unit, you then roll the artillery dice and move that many inches towards the closest unit. So that could be a friendly or enemy unit. Usually it's the target you miss though. Not very often it goes towards something else. And if it does land back on target, you use the small 3-inch template. It's only strength 3, but it's a good way to deal with sort of low toughness stuff. Elves and goblins and whatnot. Then we get into the rares. So the first one is the Hell Cannon. That's this guy over here. It's the exact same Hell Cannon out of the Warriors book. I use this guy sort of to hold a flank because it is still a monster and it's pretty durable and does put out a good amount of damage. And last up is the Kadai Destroyer. So he's the centerpiece model for my army. He's also where all the close combat output comes from. The rules for this guy, it's pretty crazy. So he's movement 9, has strength 7, toughness 6, 6 wounds. He's initiative 5, has 6 attacks, and his leadership 8. His special rules, he counts as a monster, obviously. He has blazing body, so what this does is all of his attacks are flaming, and attacks made against him with mundane weapons have to reroll the wound, which is kind of gross. So there's not a lot of magic attacks out there, so having to reroll those successful wounds is pretty devastating. Also though, every turn after the first, I have to take a toughness test or suffer D3 wounds with no armor or no saves of any kind allowed. This is to represent that, like, the Chaos Dwarf Kadai stuff is bound flame demons in some sort of magic armor or something. So I guess it's like their magic armor breaking down under the heat. Oh, that might be the Burning Bright rule. That's the Burning Bright rule. Either way, that's a rule he has. Also, at the beginning of combat, every model in base contact with him takes a straight 4 flaming attack. His Frenzy at the beginning of combat adds D3 attacks as opposed to the regular 1. He causes terror, he's unbreakable, and that is it. So that's the whole army, 2,500 points. Everything in here is really expensive, that's why it's sort of a small model count army. And everything sort of has its role. You know, we got the Anvil, Chaff Hunters, the Kadai for all the damage, and then sort of long range shooting. Usually my tactics involve sort of sitting back, either sending the Kadai out to fight by himself or just holding the whole army back and shooting away and whittling stuff down until you get close to me. Now this past weekend I did go to Kingston, Ontario for a 3-game 2,500 point tournament, and I pulled out the best painting award for that. So that's my award there. Had some good competition for that. One of the guys, Scott Stant, had a really nice Beastman army. I think it was sort of between us for the top thing, and it came down to a judge's vote, so that was cool. Other than that, yeah, that's the whole army. I got the Mountain Dew because I guess I'll just embrace the joke that my dwarves are sponsored by Mountain Dew due to the light color of them. One of the things I want to note about this army is in the last video I put out, I think it was late August, sorry, I showed off some of my warriors and my demon army. I based these guys the same, if you can see that there. The point of it is, eventually those armies will be sort of one big army. In Tamarcon, it's basically just a giant chaos invasion force, and I want all 4 armies involved, so I actually started working on some beastmen that I have, and they'll be my next sort of army project. And then everything will be representative of one large force. So that's why everything's based the same. It also allows me to cheat and just use the same display board for everything, which is nice. And that's it. So that's the army. If you have any comments or suggestions on what I could add or change in the army, let us know in the comments. Also, check out our sister group, the Can Hammer podcast. They're a podcast out of Ontario as well, and they do a lot of tournament coverage and put out I think a monthly show or a bi-weekly show. It really depends on sort of what their schedule is like. Same with us. So that's everything. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.